Join me today and I'll show you how to make the classic pumpkin pie, just in time for Thanksgiving. Hello friends and welcome back. My name is Andrea, and if you're new here, welcome. So today we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and I'm going to show you how to make probably the most iconic Thanksgiving item, which is the pumpkin pie. It probably ranks right up there with the turkey. So we always have pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving. It's just tradition for us. As well as some other desserts. But I'm going to show you how to make a pumpkin pie from scratch. So don't go buy it, just make it. So easy. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's start off with just getting our custard filling made. So I'm going to use 1 can or 15 ounces of pumpkin puree. Now I just want pure pumpkin. I don't want pumpkin pie filling. If you process pumpkins, then just measure you out 15 ounces of your processed pumpkin. But if you don't, then you can go and just buy your pumpkin puree. All right. And then we are going to add 2 large eggs. And then I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup of sugar. We're just going to kind of start to give this a little bit of a mix. And then we also want to add all of our spices. Okay. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And then 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then we also want to add 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. Now you can use ground nutmeg, or if you have the fresh nutmeg, then you can just grate your own. And since I'm grating it, I'm really just going to kind of do a guesstimate of 1/2 teaspoon. If you really wanted to measure it out, you could just grate it over a separate dish or maybe over a paper towel. And then we are going to add 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice. And then 1/4 teaspoon of ground clove. There we go. And we're just going to mix this all together. And then our last ingredient, we're going to add 1 can or 14 ounces of sweetened condensed milk. So this is different from evaporated milk. Evaporated milk is much thinner, and sweetened condensed, you can see, is super thick. Alright, and then we're going to just use the whisk to try to get this mixed up. Here we go. And we're just going to scoot that aside. And then you can either make your pastry shell, and I'll link that video for you if you want to use my recipe. It's in the basics playlist. Or you can take a shortcut and get your pastry out of the grocery store that's already made. And if you're making this for Thanksgiving, then you know that it takes a lot of time to make Thanksgiving dinner. So hitting the easy button, as I call it, is okay. So just unroll it. I'm actually going to just lay it here. I'm going to toss just a little bit of flour. Now I'm going to grab the rolling pin. Alright, and I'm just going to give this a little bit of a roll. You're not really looking to roll it out thin or anything like that, but if you had any tears trying to unroll it, this will kind of help that, especially on these edges where it's been rolled up pretty tight. That always wants to tear, so you're just kind of mushing it together. There we go. All right. I'm just gonna dust it off a little bit. And this is a 9-inch cake pan, or a 9-inch pie pan. You can use glass, or you could use metal if you have metal. Or if you want to really hit the easy button and just buy the pie pan, the pie shell that's already in the pan, just make sure you get a 9-inch. Or you could go with, they do have a deeper dish one, which is probably about a 9.5, I think. So, and that would work fine too. So I just want where my crust is kind of sticking up like this, and that's going to make it easier for me to just kind of crimp the edges a little bit. Whatever style that you do. I am the world's worst pastry crimper, so my mom always was able to do a much better job at crimping. and she never used ready-made pie crust. So, but you know, when you're busy, you're busy, so. There we go. All right. And now we're just going to pour our filling in here. I'm going to set this on a sheet tray though first, because I'm going to bake it in a sheet tray, on a sheet tray. It'll just make it much easier to get in the oven and out of the oven. So I'm just going to pour this in. Now I have our oven heated to 425 degrees, and you may think that's awfully hot, and it is hot, but we're not going to cook it for the whole time on that temp. So all right. So 425 degrees, I am going to pop this in and I'm going to bake it for 15 minutes. Then I'm going to reduce the heat to 350 degrees and then bake it for an additional 35 to 40 minutes. So you want to make sure that there's no jiggle in there, and that when you insert a knife in the center, so just use a butter knife, insert it in the center, and when it comes out clean, it's done. All right, so I just pulled the pie out of the oven. I did bake it for 45 minutes because 40 just was not quite enough. So, but I inserted the knife and it came out clean, so we are good to go. So I'm just going to let this cool for probably half hour to an hour, just out in the open. And then I will put it in the fridge after that and let it chill completely, so at least 24 hours. So you want to make this at least a day ahead of time. You could make it a couple of days ahead of your event, or you could even make it a week before and then freeze it. If you do that, you want to make sure it's in a metal pan and not a glass pan, although some people have frozen glass, but just to make sure you don't have any unhappy surprises with cracking, just use a metal pan. I would just, once it completely chills in the fridge, cover it with some plastic wrap and then get you those bigger, like 1.5-gallon size Ziploc bags and just slide it into that. And that'll keep it good for 7 to 10 days until you're ready to serve it. So, but anyway, here is our pumpkin pie. I hope you've enjoyed this recipe. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, whether you're having a big family gathering, a Friendsgiving, or just maybe just a very small gathering. So there's much to be thankful for in the world. So many blessings to you. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.